Welcome to your Inspirational Astrology Horoscope for Thursday, September 12th, 2013. I am astrologer David Palmer, the Leo King, here to illuminate the collective consciousness. Well, I am so glad to be back. Having no internet it really does throw a kink in this whole entire show. But I thank you guys for being patient. I thank you for all the customers who waited for me to get rescheduling on some readings. I just appreciate you guys so much, and thank you guys for all the support. There's been a lot happening in all of our lives, and especially to catch everybody up, we've had Venus come into Scorpio, which is super intense, super powerful, just came in yesterday, and we're going to expose a lot in our relationships. We're going to draw some lines. We're going to really get to the bottom of things in our relationships. More importantly, in ourselves as well, what we want to manifest, what our desires are. Remember, we have Saturn and Scorpio. These are times of restructuring our life. These are times of putting the work into getting our truth, into getting our desires. Now we've got Saturn in the North Node, which are conjunct. This is very powerful in the building blocks of our life. This is where you put the work in. This is where you put that energy in. And how funny that we've got all this Cancer energy, right? We've got Jupiter in Cancer, opening our emotions, opening our securities to go put the work into what our true desires are. A lot of this is about really putting the work into the life you really want, and by doing this, you will find your comfort zones. Going ass backwards right now is not going to work. And I think that now that Venus is here in Scorpio, it's going to get rid of the people that might be holding you from that. You know, doing things because you think is like the logical right way and it's not built off your truth. You know, a lot of this is kind of the tower that's crumbling in a lot of our lives, where we've got to step into our passion. We've got to live in our truth. This is Virgo energy. We are harvesting our life. We are actually manifesting the reality that's going to be exactly the way we want to. And with a moon in Sagittarius today, making its big square over to the sun, this is the first quarter square. You know, this is a check. Are you open? Are you starting to believe in the picture of this reality you want? I think a lot of this has to do with this last week as we've come into extreme change. We've really been kind of stepped into this new life. Like, how are you handling it emotionally? Are you getting too, specific into certain things? Or are you opening up to now starting to see where you can take the adventure of this new energy? You know, a lot of this is peeking our heads out, and to start exploring more now. Especially now that we have this Venus in Scorpio energy of exploring the new things that are being exposed. Whether or not somebody says it to you or not, you are starting to know what the dealio is. Whenever Venus comes into Scorpio, there is that third sense, that third eye coming in, that sixth sense, sorry. It's like you're just starting to figure things out. You're starting to see through. You're starting to see what the reality is here, especially with all this Virgo energy. And we have Mercury in Libra, which is wanting to communicate with relationships. I think it's so important to let things out, to find people that you can express yourself to, especially as Mercury is about to come into its big cardinal cross energy here, as it's about to square, good old Pluto that's about to go direct here in 9 days. So this is putting a lot of tension on us that it's starting to build. And I know there's been people going through a lot. This has been intense. This is the North Node on Saturn. There is work to be done. What is getting in between your truth must go. For those that are willing to put the work in, this has to do a lot with, not living in your truth. This has a lot to do with the rewards of living in your truth for the last year. Saturn's been in Scorpio now, coming up on a year here in the next 2 weeks. 1 year. We've all been given this truth to go live in. We've all been exposed to our fears and what's holding us back from what we want. And we've had the opportunities to go for things. We've had the opportunities in ourselves to really start to put in this new structure. And when the North Node meets Saturn, it doesn't come around a lot. I think the last time was 12 years ago. And the North Node takes 18 years to go around. So, it's a very rare alignment for this to happen. And it's work. And with Jupiter in Cancer, there can be the streak to be comfortable in a certain way of doing things. We could get lazy. A lot of this is to let go of the laziness. If you watch all my webinars, I really preach. This is a lot of laziness breaking out of us breaking out of this lazy cycle. More importantly, if you really look at humanity, this is humanity having to put the work in. It's not going to be easy. There's going to have to be new lines drawn. There's going to have to be this truth we live in. And a lot of this with Mercury in this big square in opposition that's going to happen here is what we say will really matter. And There's a lot to weigh out, there's a lot to process, but more importantly, what is this truth? What is the reality happening? What is real? And I think in relationships, we're going to have to get to the bottom of this, especially as next week Venus, starts to conjunct the North Node and Saturn. And if you watch my webinar for September, I mean, this is now us really building the concrete in our life. This is concrete coming in and it's wet, and you need to start adjusting your perfect structure of the way you want it, because it's going to dry fast, and that's what you're left with. If you're in a relationship and it's not your right, you need to go. You need to grab some cojones, and you got to be real. That's one thing about Scorpio, is it's real. And there's just so much to be real about right now and what you're manifesting. If you're having money problems right now, I'm going to be real. This is where, are you living in your truth? Are you living in your truth? Are you manifesting? Are you receiving from the universe? Scorpio is where we receive. It is not where we give. It is with what we want, our desires. Of course, Scorpios do really well in sex and give really good too. But, this is the aspect of us receiving. What are we receiving from the universe? What are we receiving from our relationships? Is this what we really desire? And what we're receiving, are we even getting anything in return here for what maybe we're putting in, right, too? There's a lot of that on the table. There's a lot of this reality that we're having to reorganize in our life. And now relationships are a big part of this. And just whether or not it's a connection or not. Is there a connection there? If there is, and if that's what you really want, you got to go. If it's not, you got to part ways. This is the parting of the Red Sea in many ways. In our lives, we are starting to part the Red Sea in what we want to manifest, what relationships we want. And more importantly, we need to get this adventure going. We need to get this belief going. We need to start to see bigger in our lives of where we want to take this, what we really want, and to put the work in for what our truth is. And to more importantly, listen to the signs. The signs are around you. And they come in weird ways. Sure, maybe you like this girl and there's a sign there, but it's maybe not her, but it's that kind of girl, or whatever that it is. There's all these things that are painting the right picture for you in this very cloudy, weird way, but it's somehow going to all work out. And you know what that is, and you know what you're going for, and you got to do it now. Now that Mars is in Leo, about to start to trine Uranus here, and we had the moon come in this big grand trine, it's time for you to go for it. It's time for your passions to come out. It's time to start to get through these blocks, get out of the mud, and go for what you really want in your life. And you've got to charge for your heart now. You've got to have strength. Uranus in Aries is forcing us to have courage. It's forcing us to get over these emotional issues that lead us into our strength. Sure, comfort's a good thing, but you know what? Isn't it more comfortable to be in the truth, to be in what you want to be in your life, more than like, oh, this is more comfy if I do this, or if I'm in this relationship because I need this, or if I'm in this. If you start playing baby mode on yourself, which this is going to start to play baby mode on people, then that's where your problems are, is that you've got to have strength. You've got to be independent, you've got to be responsible, and you've got to put a plan into motion here. And that's what Pluto coming direct here in a week is. We are a week away, everybody, 9 days to be exact. We are a week away from things really shifting even bigger and more intense. If you thought the shifts were just happening, I mean, this is the concrete where the wet concrete is here. You can still adjust. Make your life the way it's supposed to be. Be real. It's time to be real. And today gives you the opportunities to see more. Are you only letting certain aspects get in between this big picture? Are you letting the littlest things get in between, that there are a million different options out there? That's what today is trying to signal. But more importantly, are you expressing yourself correctly in your relationships? Are you allowing yourself to really communicate and speak? Because this is going to come under the radar, especially as Venus is coming in. I think a lot of crazy stuff's going to come out here in the next week. I recommend to start playing it all out the right way. Letting people know how you really feel. Check out my website, inclusiveastrology.com, if you want to have a one-on-one reading with me, or if you want to check out any of my products. I actually have some new jewelry coming up, and I have some new surprises coming. So I thank you guys so much for all your support. Thank you for the transition and the move, and I will see you for your weekend forecast tomorrow.